meeting with the invocation by hearing followed by the flag salute.
Father in heaven, hallowed be thy mighty name. Lord Jesus, we welcome you here. Come with your holiness, with your righteousness, with your truth and light. Inspire our commissioners to make prudent and just decisions in the matters before them today. To Satan I say, get out. In the name of our Savior Jesus Christ, go back to that pit you crawled out of. You're not welcome here. Jesus, we thank you for the blessings you bestow upon us, even though they're undeserved and granted only by your mercy and your unconditional love. In your name I pray, Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, administrative business, Tina.
Okay, Randy has the EMPG grant application, which was in your packet, and he needs to get on the road today, so is it okay if we take care of that as a first matter of administrative business?
Okay.
Okay.
Like Tina said, we had that in our packet. Is there any questions of Randy, or Randy, anything you want to bring up?
This is an annual grant that comes to the federal government. It depends on how much they actually send to the state and what we wind up with. There are many things they decide on in the calculation and how much funding we get. It deals with population and livestock and things like that. But we do it annually, and it requires the senior commissioner's signature on this before it's submitted.
Okay.
Where the yellow tab is where your signature will go. It also requires the county clerk's signature, and she's already signed it for us. And then I have to sign it several times. Just the one page.
Just one?
Just the one.
Okay. Tina needs to sign it also.
She's already signed it for us.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Deal. There you go. Thank you, Randy.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Tina.
Drive careful.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay. The first thing that I have then are the minutes. I've got two sets of minutes. One is from August 26th, and then the other is from the payday meeting on August 30th.
Okay, got time to review those minutes. Any questions?
No?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the August 26th minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Moved and second, all those in favor? Aye. And then we may have to wait on the, because I'll have to abstain on the August 30th.
Okay. I'll let you sign this one, just
Okay.
this side of the page here. Okay. We do have some change orders and supplements in your spreadsheet was in your packet, and here's the. And the change orders will need signatures, the supplements do not.
Okay.
This is really good. I'm that tired. All right.
Out at the landfill, we have several opportunities throughout the year for youth or disabled to come and hunt. And so you do have one application for a hunt, and all of the paperwork has been completed. You can review that, and then the board just sign, well, chairman signs their card at their home.
That's for hunting at that old landfill.
Do you want to look this over, and then
Okay.
Kent, I just need your signature on the card.
We normally have 2 or 3 of those a year, don't we? That's the only one we received.
Yes, as of right now, yes.
So we're getting a little recreational use out of it. Share a little deer jerky with us.
What they do?
Is it for anybody?
What's that?
Is it for anybody?
Yeah,
It's for youth and disabled.
yeah, youth and disabled
Oh, you can
at
say.
the old landfill.
Okay.
Okay, 2 salary change orders. First one's under communications, Ivy Jellison. New 911 system operator, 6 month and 1 year raise at $14.34. And the Register of Deeds, Magdalene Schrader. New Deputy Register of Deeds, 6 month and 1 year raise at $2,723 per month.
So these are both just new hires at the present time?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And that's all I have. We can come back to the minutes and the scheduling for
Okay.
when Randy's here.
All right, Bryce is here, so Road and Bridge.
Morning.
Morning.
First thing is a temporary employee.
Okay, this is Blacktop Jeffrey Silhon, new part-time seasonal, $10 per hour.
So he'll just be helping out this fall or something?
Yeah.
Those guys do a lot of mowing, don't they?
Well, he's actually flagging. update on an update. Water line permit, this is for rural water district number 4. They wanted to change it to 596 feet each. Now, so they got another revision to 1,320 feet each. Just, it's fine with us, just want to let you know on the formality of it, so.
Is this one that's been before us?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. You wanted, when they wanted to revise it, you wanted to see the original application, so we got the original application.
Okay.
It's already been signed, they just wanted to move it again, which I don't know problem with, so.
This needs to be signed again?
No, it already, well, it's been signed once, you just
Yeah.
wanted to see the revision, so.
Okay.
For the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program, I'm planning on putting in 170th and Alfalfa Bridge replacement. It's a 29-foot steel beam, 3-ton loading. It's actually on a rural minor collector, Rock Road, and turn it in. That's one where they will give you up to $150,000 to replace the bridge, basically not have to deal with all the federal standards and stuff. So we're going to turn that in, and then also for the extra $50,000 for permanent closing of the road, we were looking at 160th between Holly and Indigo. The area has flooded several times. We have the heaper that lives right there on the corner, right there where that structure is. It's flooded so bad it washes out their driveway. He has no problem with closing it. Obviously, we'll have to go through the formal process, but they'll give us $50,000 for permanent close the road. We'll still have to maintain access on the other side to the farm properties. The other thing is, if we do put in a brand new bridge or whatever else, I think we would probably cut off access to a field right there. And that's basically the only access he has. That's one of the other issues is trying to put a new bridge, we would go way past where his entrance would be if they'd have to turn around and buy out the property or whatever else. But Kate will give you the $50,000 or up to $50,000 to go ahead and close it. So we can take that money and take out the structure. It only has about a foot or two of opening under it. Take that out. We'll build a nice berm through there so the water wouldn't be able to come up around his house. It's kind of an interesting drainage area. We've been conferring with the NRCS and stuff on it. That was our thoughts. We can use that money to permanently close the road and make it a safer situation for him too. So.
Is there an official notification to?
We would have to go through that whole process of closing the road and officially. We built a berm up there, permanent road closed. Like I said, we have to work on the other side too to get some access. 160 between Holly and Indigo.
Are there other neighbors involved in this deal?
He's the one who lives on the road.
On the entire, and what about the property?
Well, that's like I said, we'd have to still provide access to him. But right now they can't get across the same way. It's got several feet of wet silty stuff that they can't get to there. So if I get a word of the project, then we can start the whole process of doing that. So.
Okay, I was just asking because I know if you close the road, you need to have consent of the
Yes.
other people.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who all lived.
Yeah, and like I said, he's the only one on the road, and honestly, the road's been closed ever since the flooding started this spring because we just have no good option to go back with it. So.
And how does he get out? He has another way?
He can actually go east Indigo, but he has nothing to the west, and all the farmers come in from the west anyway. That's where the property is. So, but yeah, we'll go through that formal process. So I'll get that turned in this week. So we got to update our new trucks. Should be here either at the end of this month or next month, so we can start on that. A little frustrating here. We were talking for so long about getting the concrete rubble off that project up there. I got a call from KDOT. They are now taking that back because the material was stockpiled there as negotiations for some claims on the project. And they don't want to release that rubble based on those negotiations, but I understand that, but I don't know what they're going to do with them. They're just going to leave them sit there. Well, anyway, it was actually recommended to me to see if we couldn't get one of the commissioners to call the district engineer, Randy West. I've got his name and number circled there, to explain to him the situation. Say we were originally going to take it, or they were originally going to give it to us, and then we said, well, no, then we would, and then they in turn take it away from us. said that we could actually go in there and, you know, take care of that stockpile for them and get rid of it. So the decision wasn't made by, well, I would say it wasn't made directly by Randy West, the district engineer. It was made by the district construction engineer, but it was just recommended to talk to the district engineer to explain the situation.
And what was our reasoning again?
The contract was delayed and they had some extra claims for damages or something to that effect. And so basically they worked it out to where whatever negotiation was is they could, if KDOT will allow them to stockpile that material there, all those other claims would go away. I'm just telling you what was told to me. It doesn't make any sense,
But we have nothing in writing that
With-
says we get that, so.
well, I mean, other than I sent Joe an email, said, hey, we request to get that again. And all he did was call me back, because he forwarded the email up there, and then they came back and said, well, no, we're not gonna.
So I don't know how we'd have any.
Well, I don't know if we would either, but I mean, at least
I'd be glad to,
Okay.
glad to call them.
call him and talk to him, and like I said, I said, I understand keeping it for negotiations purposes, whatever else, but what are you gonna do with it? KDOT doesn't want riprap, they've got riprap laying all over the place that they don't use.
You didn't call the man, you didn't call them about it?
I dealt with Joe out here, and that was his recommendation, just to call Randy, and, so.
Go up the chain of command.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm all too familiar with what goes on with them, and I don't, I just, to say, what are you gonna do with the material that's just sitting there for years and years and years, and honestly, I guess that's something I look at it after a while, become unsightly. But,
Well, when you're talking about claims, what type of claims would that be?
well, a contractor is, on those state projects like that, they're typically given a duration they need to be done with the project. Well, if they turn around and say, well, we were delayed because of rain delays, or whatever else, well, then they get into negotiations. Well, do they charge them liquidated damages or not? And again, I don't know, that's just what was explained to me, but it's just, for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's just what was told to me, was that they agreed to take the material in lieu of any other claims from the contractor.
I'll call him and talk to him.
Okay, just see what he has to say. I mean, it's just, I told Joe, I said, what are you gonna do with the material? And he says, I don't know.
So what would you say when you talk to them, since we don't have any agreement or anything like that with them?
Just say,
We just had a verbal agreement that
Yeah.
we would take it.
yeah, and just say, we still would take this.
Well,
I mean,
other than telling them we'd still like to have it.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we
yeah.
can do.
Well, and like I said, maybe Randy can talk to,
Yeah.
Chad and see
And he
what
may
his.
say call
Yeah,
somebody else.
yeah, it's,
I guess it's.
yeah, I don't really know. It's just, like I said, I don't know why you want that material sitting there if you're, again, I don't know what you can do, because they don't use rock and material that way. They don't stay in that business. They use, if they're already using anything, they use AB3 to shoulder the roads,
Yeah.
and that's what
I
they
was
use.
gonna say, I don't know what they'd use it for, other than around a culvert or something.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't, all that stuff's contracted out, so.
But whatever their deals are that they're trying to protect right now, we don't know what they are.
No,
They
no.
may be very viable or.
Well, and like I said, I don't know, and honestly, Joe didn't really either, so it's, but I just, it's fine to say that what's the benefit to the state of having the rock other than making it things? I just,
I guess it's their prerogative.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But we're also looking at other alternatives up there. If this doesn't pan out as far as the next projects, maybe we can find some area to store it right off the bat.
Well, yeah, because they're gonna just keep having more and more if they keep going south down 77.
Yeah, yeah. And KDOT has the right, or the mixing strips down, the one right north of Lincoln on the west side that they can use, but again, they're not in the business of storing material. I don't know what they're after, but anyway, that was what was recommended to me, so I guess I would,
Sounds political.
yeah, so, but, KDOT also come out with a new program, I think it came out last week, maybe the end of the week before that, as far as their cost share.
Mhm.
They currently have $11 million available at the 15% rate, and then they're working on another 50 million, which would be a 25% cost rate, or cost share. So I guess it's up to the commission, if you guys have any ideas what to look at. We had talked about using Nighthawk. Even with doing the full depth reclamation, and we could do, they at least recommend a double chip seal over top of it. I'd actually probably rather push for 2-inch overlay on top of that, just to make it good covering. We're probably still looking at the $4 to $5 million range. So that's something to look at, although I don't know if I could get it turned around by the October deadline, but they also look at it again in March. Unfortunately, if it goes in March, it may be tough to get it done yet next year too, but that was one thought. The other thought I was looking at is one of the other big issues we're looking at is goldenrod between 160th and 170th. We're looking at, there's a bridge replacement there that is not as bad as a lot of the bridges we have, but it is a terrible flooding problem. The road has been washed away in probably the last 20, 30 years as much as 8 foot. You used to be able to drive straight across there. Now it's a good 6 feet. The county went a couple years ago and actually built the roadway up. That material is now gone too, due to the amount of flooding and stuff through there. It's probably looking at, I hate to even guess, 100,000 yards of dirt. I mean, it's just that bad it's got a low water crossing that still runs water, and we need work going up the hill, but probably more than county forces could do, or time-wise. I mean, with just one scraper, we're talking several scrapers. We may have to truck in dirt. That was an option. Some of the other, I did find out that basically any project is available, whether it's on a federal secondary road or off-road, whatever the case may be. They're basically all eligible. So we could look at replacing we've got 2 narrow bridges on, one of them's on the Lincoln during the DNL road, and the other one I believe is south on Indigo, that are kind of narrow, that we could look at too. We've got till, I think, the middle of October to get something submitted there. So.
Which one is it on the Lincoln Dorm that you're talking about? Is it the one down by, is it on 290th?
Yes.
Okay,
I think is that by Urox, I believe it
Yeah.
is?
Okay.
Yeah, that narrow bridge.
It's a narrow one there. I mean, I think another one to look at is the one right east of Tampa that floods so bad, through there, but,
You mean right by the cemetery?
yes. The one that catches all the tanks and stuff like that. Like I said, it's just if you guys, want to think about something, if there's something that comes up in your area.
Is this an ongoing program every year that comes up, or is this a one-time?
That's a good question, because I don't think they know either. With the taxes and the sales tax transfer and everything else are in flux as much as anything else here. They said they're hoping to get another $50 million. That was the recommendation, but it's still, when it comes down to it, they face budget issues like everybody else if their sales tax go down, whatever else. But, I think that this governor is definitely understands that what needs to be done with the infrastructure and really wants to push that, because obviously they have really been hurt in the last, 5-6 years. Over, maintenance-wise and everything else, equipment-wise, people-wise, they're really hurting. So I would like to say that, and they were talking about too with the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program, want to do the same thing. They put $5 million in it this year, and they hope to put $5 million in next year. But again, who knows? So that's the recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, if we knew this was kind of an ongoing project, then, we've been looking at Nighthawk as, maybe a 2-3 year project.
Right.
Where we could, if there's some cost share with them, we could leverage some funds
Sure.
to get started.
Yeah.
So Bryce, are you putting together, as we discussed earlier, a 5-year plan?
Yes. Yeah. We're working on that.
And these roads that you're describing are within that 5-year plan, as far as? 'cause I know we
That was
have-
my plan, yeah. What I plan to do is here, when I get this stuff wrapped up, and start working on that, based on where we are now, what my recommendation would be, and then, based on approximate cost between now and then.
The condition of the
Yeah.
bridge, prioritizing
Yeah.
based on condition of the bridges.
Yeah.
And I agree, the one down there by Urox is a dangerous bridge, especially for the heavy traveled road that it is. But I'm not sure, is the other one that you mentioned up there on 330th, is that in bad shape? Because I thought the bridge
Well-
was plenty wide. I mean, I don't know, I didn't notice that there was ever an issue with it.
Yeah, and it comes down to the fact that, like I said, looking at the higher priority bridges, and the fact is they're on more well-traveled roads. I've got all these out there that are on dirt roads and everything else that don't have a lot of traffic, that are in worse shape, but I can't, to say I don't want to go out and justify a whole bunch of money on stuff like that. That's where the dirt roads and stuff like that, as far as fixing those bridges, that's a lot more within our realm of our department. Some of these other ones are just, they're big enough structures and the amount of work that have to be contracted out. That's where I was looking for the extra money, those cost shares, whatever else, because that's what the money's for. So, but yeah, and I've got, like I said, I go over that list all the time, trying to figure out, you know, where to use the money the wisest. We've got to go in and replace that structure at 280th and Vista, Vista, one that washed out. We've got to go back and put some in there. I was a little worried that railroad bored 2 big pipes underneath the railroad, and I finally got hold of them. They're designing for a 500-year flood. So it basically took a lot of pressure off me, because there's no way I can design for a 500-year flood. But if I designed for a 500-year flood, that structure would have to be 300 feet long down there, and we're not going to do that.
So out on 330th, the ones that I showed you the pictures here a while back, the washouts and stuff from the floods, have they been addressed? Because I thought they were washing out even worse. It
Well,
just seemed to be like-
we just went back in and put screenings in there. Part of the thing that I'm looking at is I may just go back and say, I don't know if our guys can handle that. I may just have to contract that out to. My plan is to go back with some sort of concrete in there with those washed out enough the way it is that, historically speaking, that we need to do something more than what it is. The other option is to wash out, is to go back and replace the whole structure. Well, then you kind of go to the next step, which probably takes you over 6 figures to do that, plus a lot more impact to traffic. But I think we would be okay as far as just working on that bottom side, make it a little bit more erosion resistant.
How far back does it go up on the road? Because when I looked at it, I mean, it looks like it goes back pretty far to where the road.
Well, they don't really go much underneath there, because typically the water will go across there shooting that way. But we, like I said, we just put screenings in there so we didn't have to drop off on because otherwise it's just, other than closing that one lane of road. The other thing that's kind of advantageous about some of these structures is being a lower volume road is we actually have a little bit of latitude. Like a lot of these projects you work on state highways, whatever else, they require signals. We can actually get by with just saying yield oncoming traffic. Get rid of that, because honestly, I can tell you 95% of the people are going to run a signal when it's out there anyway. So as long as it's properly designed or whatever else, you can actually get by doing that. That cuts your cost tremendously, because signals will add a tremendous amount of money to your project. So just something to look at. But like I said, those structures, that was kind of the plan, was just to go with something on the bottom here. So. But it's going to stop raining, so.
But you say it's gonna be difficult to get the paperwork done by the, what's that, 9th, 11th?
Of October?
Yeah.
Well, it all depends on what we have to submit. Now, one thing about Nighthawk is we do at least have a consultant's recommendation for that, and we can submit that. The biggest problem that we're going to face is if they only have $11 million, are they really going to want to turn around and fork out $5 million to us in one county? I mean, it's not, you never know until you apply, but
Every county's got issues.
well, and that's the whole point, is they're probably going to get hundreds of applications for $11 million. And
But we don't know if we don't drop it.
exactly, yeah, or any other project. I mean, you definitely have to turn in money. It's a tough job when you start picking and choosing what you want to do between all those projects. But like I said, if you guys know of other things you can think of, let me know what else we can try to work on whatever we can. So, just give you a heads up, we've been contacted by Ms. Jeanette Bill. She's looking to buy a property out the county lake. It's on Rose Lane. It's on the northern part of the county, or northern part of the lake. She's looking to buy a property that is on the east side of a cul-de-sac, and it's an offset of cul-de-sac. It's not a straight like on the road. She would is interested to talk to the county about basically dropping that cul-de-sac, making a straight line through there, add that to her property, so she can put a house in front of the pond instead of on the other side of the pond. She's contacted everybody else, and I said basically she just needs to come back with a plan and come to you guys to say, you know, I don't know if she's really ran into any opposition to it. It's just a matter of it has to be a formal process, and all the other people have to be taken care of. You know, if it involves a variance, obviously everybody else is going to have to be doing that there. So I just asked to have her, develop or drop some plans, whatever else, to come in and talk to you guys. So she, down the road, will be probably coming in to you. She's dealing with a local real estate person. And like I said, she's talked to the register of deeds, and she's talked to planning, and she's basically talked to everybody. So just a matter of coming up with a formal plan in writing as to what she would do. So that's on the come. And then we just found out this morning that we actually got a refund from the state for $2,687.34 for the Florence, or the bridge on South Alfalfa down there. Evidently we had overpaid or something, change order or something like that anyway, so we get a little bit of money back. So that will go back to us. So, otherwise, I think that's it. There's anything else.
I think that's it, huh?
I ask. So,
Thank you.
all right,
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks, Bruce. Deidre here?
No, you're on the hot seat.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi. First of all, I just need a signature on our contract with KDHE for the WIC program. There is a place here and then another place to sign. The second place where you'll sign is, that just means we follow their policy on the sexual harassment. And so the WIC budget, basically you'll see that there was a little bit of an increase, and that increase is actually due to the fact that Chase County is now gonna go under Morris County. The health department was under Lyon County, but evidently their administrator retired, and so I'm not sure, they're gonna do some reorganization, or they might be closing that department and kind of satelliting their clinics. So Morris County will be taking over that, and Morris County is under us, so that funding that's allocated to Morris, to Chase will be going to Morris. So our breastfeeding did go down a little bit, and that's because our caseload of pregnant and breastfeeding women have decreased from last year. So that is always based, their funding is based on our caseload. So then the second issue is what y'all are gonna decide about the county flu shots, paying for the flu shots. The Blue Cross Blue Shield, as you saw in the information that I sent you, Ashley did some research on Blue Cross Blue Shield that we provide for the county employees. And then Jess also made a sheet that I attached which showed you what we've been paying since, looks like since 2015. When the employees and families received the shots, we gave 94 flu shots, and the cost to the county was $3,550. Last year, we gave 54 flu shots, and we just paid for the employees, and the cost was $3,457. There was an increase, as you know, there is an increase usually in the flu vaccine itself, so that's where some of that cost difference. Plus, we started giving flu block, which is about 3 times the strength of the original, well, I shouldn't say the original, but the one formulation of the flu vaccine, and which is indicated for those over 50 years old. And so that is more costly. And the county has a number of employees that are over 50, so we recommended that they get the flu block. So that's kind of a reason for the increase. Now, Blue Cross Blue Shield does pay for the flu block, and they will reimburse for that. So my proposal would be that, and I think we would still, in a sense, be saving money, if the county, if we start billing those who have insurance, it's gonna be a little more work on us, and it may take, at our employee flu shot clinics, it may take a little bit longer because we will have to get their insurance card, we'll have to get all that information off of that. It will take a little bit longer for just to bill it rather than just put names and then bill to the county. But I guess my thinking is if we can bill the insurance company, then y'all would have to pay, or the county would have to pay for that. And then we could offer it to the employees' families. Some of those family members will be covered under their insurance, so we wouldn't be paying for all of those. Some families, the children are covered under state insurance, so those, there would not be the cost of that. So it would basically be a benefit for those who can't afford to take the county insurance for their family.
So I have a question on that. So first off, I agree with exactly what you're saying, since the county does pay a vast amount of the insurance for the employees. And as you said, and Ashley did a fabulous job by using this, and Blue Cross does pay it. So to me, that's a no-brainer. File the insurance company, that's what we pay for it. And secondly, the people in the county who do not take the family plan probably have insurance through their other spouse's insurance, because a lot of people, some buy it from us and some buy it from them. So why would we want to pay for that if they have an alternative insurance of their self? I think that needs to be checked out before we just start throwing money out to pay for people who, because if I have insurance and I can get it over here free, why?
Right.
I mean, I think the
And
insurance should
we
pay.
bill, because we can bill for insurances. So we will bill, if they have insurance, we'll definitely bill.
So you do that
insurance.
anyway.
In the past, since we've, that was something the county's always offered, so they've never billed
I see.
insurance. We've just billed the county because it was kind of a county insurance.
So in my opinion, we need to make the insurance company pay for it.
Well, irregardless,
That's what
like
you
you
have,
said,
right.
you have the ability to
Yeah.
bill any
Yeah.
company, so.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's where we should go with it.
And then if the family members don't have insurance, because there are some that we have run across in the past that if one family member works, and sometimes it's too expensive to, pay for the family insurance, but that's not a lot. I would say probably a majority of those people do have, if they don't have some type of insurance from one or the other, they have like state insurance a lot of times, and we do have a special cash of vaccine for that. So that's where, if we can pretty much cover the children, we will get a cash of 317 vaccine that will cover uninsured adults. So there probably wouldn't be, I just think that we should offer it to the family, because if a employee's family is sick, then they take off work to care for their child. But again, I just
disagree with that, because I just think that everybody has insurance somewhere, and I know there's some people who don't, I got that. Okay, but like you said, they have usually then the welfare card, the medical card, or whatever. And then people who just refuse to get insurance for whatever the reason is, to pay for them, I mean, when other people are struggling to pay their premiums and stuff like that, I just think it's kind of unfair. When you choose not to take insurance, you understand the risks. Whether it's flu, or whether it's pneumonia, or whether it's fall down and break my neck, you understand what you're doing, right? That's totally irresponsible. So, and I just don't think we should hold the taxpayers responsible for paying other people's shots I just don't think so. I really don't. And like you said, it's so few, and if there's any,
Yeah.
we don't really know if there's any.
And I don't know if the county, we have a lot of part-time people, you know, and they obviously don't get county insurance, but they may have some insurance. But I guess if
So
Do
we
you
offer
want
to
to-
part-time people then too? We don't offer a lot of things to part-time people.
well, we've always in the past offered it to part-time people, the EMTs and I think you still do have some EMTs, aren't they, that are on call that are not part of the
Yes.
full-time? And they don't get insurance, and we've always offered the shot to them, which I think we need to continue to include them in this. And we definitely will be asking them if they have insurance, but if they don't have insurance, I really feel like, I mean, they're doing the county a service for volunteering, and even working the part-time just work as hard as the full-time. So if they don't have insurance, I would still like the ability to bill the county for, which I don't foresee will be very many, because I think a lot of people have some type of insurance.
So you're saying the volunteer people got that, and their families? Is that, I mean, where are you gonna draw the line?
Well, that's what I'm asking you guys. Where do you want to draw the line?
I don't know. I mean, we just pay a lot of money out to insurance as it is. And I understand, I'd love to give everybody a flu shot if they
Yeah.
want one. I personally wouldn't take one, but if they want
Yeah.
one, got it. But, I mean, I just think we also have to be smart about it. You know,
Right.
you can't do it for the world, and, I mean, we just can't
Well,
keep paying
and that's
that.
why we're gonna
I
start
think
billing
I'll
that's
let
the
those
reason,
two-
that's the reason
yeah.
that you're billing.
Right,
Well,
right.
I don't know, I look at it kind of as an investment, because if we'd end up with an epidemic, we could cripple an apartment or have bunches of people gone and.
When do people take their own responsibility for their health? When do people start taking their responsibility of their own health and their own bodies? I mean, do we have to be?
That's a personal decision that they
That's
have to
right.
make.
That's right.
I can't afford it, I can't afford it.
That's right, so when do we hold them accountable for their decisions? I mean, we can't mother everybody. But I'll let you decide, that's just my
What do you think, Randy?
I just offer it to full-time employees, you know, I don't know, part-time, I think that's what we dropped back to last year, wasn't it? We didn't, we went to full, part-time too?
We've, in the past, the history has been kind of what Deidre said.
Right.
You had offered it to all employees and their families. Recently, you've just gone to employees only.
Okay.
And you've included part-time.
We have included part-time.
Yeah.
To the employees and their part-time, that's fine for me to stay just the way we were.
The employees and
But
part-time.
bill them, I
we
mean, if our
will-
insurance will bill them, why not bill them though?
I don't think
Yeah, yeah.
think you're gonna find a lot of them that don't have some type of insurance.
Right.
Like I
don't
said, even
think
if it's
we
a
will.
state plan.
Yeah. I don't think we will, but if you're willing, if we do have some of these that don't have the employees, that don't have insurance, which I don't think will be the full-time, because like you said, they'll either get it from their
Somebody.
spouse or somebody. And so we'll just continue with that, the employees.
Can we have
offer
some
it.
sort of a commission action approving how that's gonna be done?
Okay.
I'd make a motion to continue with employees and part-time employees only.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, here is our, I do want to pass out our schedule.
Oh.
What's it? Oh, no lifesaver. Here, you guys can pass the word too.
What's your total number of shots running for everything last year?
We had probably 3, 4, 5. Probably 700.
700
Maybe that's
shots.
just roughly.
Anything else? I guess you're done, Dee.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Dismissed. Okay, is Mr. Parker here? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Sit down, stand up.
Sit down.
Sit down, okay.
Okay, go ahead, sir, whenever you're ready.
I'm Jeff Parker with First Choice Security out of Salina. Have been contacted about possibly providing security here at the courthouse. Both full-time, part-time. I guess you guys are exploring multiple possibilities. Really what I'm here today is just to offer up, we are willing to work with you, work with the sheriff's office, whatever it would take, to assist you guys in this. If we do it at part-time for 6 months, give sheriff's office time to get things acquired. We're willing to do that. To whatever degree that you guys want to work with. We are looking to expand in this area. That's one of the reasons this came up. We'll be working with the pipeline down in Peabody Burns. So we'll have some employees in this area already, probably by the time this would get started. So, more than anything, if you would have questions of me or, you know, whatever you guys would need. What the packet is just a little bit of the history about the company, who we are. We provide different locations, references. I can get that upon. If you request that, I'll get you references, places to contact. Question that you might have of me?
Yeah, I was looking through your proposal there, and it states in, you know, under the annual recurring costs contracted.
That is actually, the information that was in your packet was the information from Dickinson County.
Okay.
And that's not a proposal from this company.
Right,
It's
yeah,
just,
we haven't, I was gonna say, we haven't submitted a proposal.
no,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's just the information, because you all take care of Dickinson
Dickinson
County, is my
County, right.
understanding. That's information from Dickinson of how they made their determination of what to do. So,
Well, I'd still have the same question. Under Dickinson counties, you had 2 armed security guards per day. Now, in our situation here, where we don't have court every day,
Right, right.
would that be a different type of proposal?
Oh,
On the
yes.
days that it's not a court, you'd have one?
One guard here, whatever really you guys would, you know, come up with, and then we would write a proposal for that.
Okay.
The 2 guards there, they shut down the whole courthouse to protect the employees there from carrying weapons. To do that, you've got to have guards there from open to close, metal detectors, that kind of stuff. And my understanding here is you may not even want that. Just in looking at your courthouse, that'd be pretty tough to do here. You know, shut it down to 1 entrance, or even 2 of them, and it would be tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, we would tailor the proposal to whatever you guys, basically your specifications that you would want.
I mean, my thought is, days that we don't have court, why would we need 2?
Most definitely, yes. And even on court days, I mean, when Judge Powers had contacted me about this, he was talking about, you know, maybe even a bailiff type situation for the courts. We can work around, however, I'd have to get with the sheriff and work out with him, you know, to be able to have some detention powers down here. Most of our guys are retired law enforcement or military, but that still doesn't give us arrest authority. We would have to get that through the sheriff's office to be able to do that. If through the courts, somebody being taken into custody, you know, we'd have to work that out with the sheriff. We would have that ability to do so. We've got detention in Dickinson County granted to us there, so we can detain people. They still have bailiffs, but once in a while somebody slips out the door, gets downstairs, the phone rings real quick, and it says, clerk, you know, we want that guy detained or person. So we do have that ability there. But it's those minor details we would have to work out.
If under contract, judge just ordered that guy thrown out, so that he puts up a fight and somebody gets hurt of your officers. who's responsible for your officers while they're
We are.
under contract?
We are.
So that price takes care of anything that may happen to that officer while
That's-
officers?
Yes, we carry workman's comp, we have insurance for our employees.
What if the mad person comes in and does away with some people, mainly your security guards right off the get-go? What I'm getting at is there any
Liability
county
back on
liability
you?
towards us?
No, we have a $2 million policy
Okay.
that covers us for any of that kind of stuff. You know, most of our training, we train weekly, a lot more than most places. Just for those type of things. Our range and our hands-on training is military. One of my partners is former military, so he's very up on that, stays up on it. We mix that with law enforcement. You know, we just have the 3 partners of mine, or 2 partners of mine, we've got about 68 years of law enforcement experience built into that. So we cover that pretty in depth.
So you mentioned a bailiff. What would and I'm just a little, just asking for a little clarification. What would the point of a bailiff be versus just a security person?
Well,
I mean,
they-
I don't.
When Judge Powers, you know, bailiff's actually pretty much in the courtroom. He is the court security for that. He can take custody of individuals. He's at the discretion of the courts as to what happens in there, besides providing security.
So he serves a dual purpose there.
Right.
I see.
So when you're on duty, is one of your officers then considered a bailiff when the court is in session?
In Dickinson County you're talking, or here?
Or if that is what we decided?
We would again work that out with the sheriff's office, so we would have that authority to be the bailiff and have those arrest powers, or at least detention powers until they can get on site.
So you would still have to have the sheriff to make arrests and stuff, even under the form of a bailiff.
Depends on what we can work out with them. If they give us a commission card that would allow us to make that arrest, take them across the street to the sheriff's office, you know, we can do that too. You know, that's just those little details that, you know, to be legal, you gotta work those things out and just see where it goes.
And I understand the scheduling for the courtroom upstairs court is kind of sporadic.
That's correct.
And so how would you keep on board with that?
We would have to have just constant communication with court clerks.
I see.
You know, hopefully a week in advance, we kind of know what the schedule is. Because it's tough if I have to find somebody that can only work 2 or 3 days a week, you know, to have those qualifications. If we can get it so we're also doing courthouse security, just walking around, you know, greeting your patrons as they come into the building, whatever. Just having that presence, that helps me extend those hours out so I can get the qualified personnel. You know, I've got the personnel in Salina, but cannot afford to pay them to come down here. What I'd much rather do is find local people from here.
That's it, that's an interesting thing, because I've heard people mention that to me, that we probably have, if we looked, qualified.
I'm sure you do.
Retired people,
Yep.
like you said, military or sheriffs here or in the county or close
Yep,
by.
yep.
Yeah.
You know, every place that we have wound up going, we're in, of course, Dickinson County, we're in Geary County working on some stuff there, Clay County. You know, within a short period of time, we're able to find those people.
There's local people.
There's local people.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so who would you have to coordinate with to get us a proposal besides us, the sheriff, district court?
District court, yeah, just, you guys kind of give me what you're thinking you want, and then I would get with the sheriff, get with the district court a little bit more, get a little more in depth, do, you know, a site survey, come in and just see what we're doing and dealing with, and then be able to put you together.
No offense, but there are other agencies that do the same service around, right? So
Yep.
it would be something we would probably want to put bids out on, rather than just, I mean, I would say we need to at least put bids out. I mean, determine what we want and then put bids out would be the way to handle it, rather than just an inside thing. Be my thought.
No, you know, the one thing I will warn you a little bit about is there are a lot of them out there that will do it cheaper. I'll tell you that right now.
You have that in every case.
Yes.
Every sector.
You just need to look at the background of what you're getting.
cheap is not always the best way.
That's correct.
But I would like to still be at least
Oh, and
fair.
you bet.
Be fair.
I
It's just
have
the
no
right thing
problem
to
with
do.
that at all.
Yeah.
Randy, you have anything?
I think it's more or less, we work out a schedule for, we'll see what we want to pay for and what we want to try to pay for. And, you know, like it's gonna, that one person's going to be 40 hours a week, or we're going to put 25 hours a week, or we're going to put here and see what we want, and then give it out, and see whether we can afford it.
You know, and also in terms there, look at equipment. I would just suggest, you know, depending on what you want to do, if you're going to shut down, you're going to have to metal detectors, that kind of stuff. You know, think of those as you're thinking about this. If you do just a part-time roving or security, you can do away with that and not have that in that plan.
What did you do at Dickinson County out there? Did you go to the metal detector?
Yes, we have walk-through metal detector here, walk-through metal detector. To actually prevent weapons coming in, you have to have that. We don't have a bag machine, we hand search all bags. Plus a gun locker, it's amazing how many people do carry weapons
Right.
with them. You know, the first year we were there, we probably filled that gun locker about half full. We still have those same people now, because a lot of times they're leaving it for me.
Right.
So they're your everyday citizen.
Even if you have a concealed carry permit, you can require that person to leave their
Yes,
firearm.
the firearm will have to be left in the gun locker unless they're law enforcement.
Have you run across a situation where they haven't told you?
Yes.
Gone ahead?
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of rules that the county up there set for that situation if they don't?
They're pretty lenient on that, depending on the disposition of the person.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as it goes off, you know, when they get that, oh, gee, I forgot.
Yeah.
I've got this belt buckle, this kind of firearm, and that's what it was. It was a belt buckle that had a little air jerk built in. Put it in the gun locker, and he was happy. He was on there. If they're actually, the way they're set up there is if they're concealing on purpose to come in, then we would have the sheriff's office come in.
I guess so going forward, to come up with a proposal, we're gonna have to put our heads together with the sheriff, the district court, in order to see what's gonna be viable for this county to try to come up with at least something we can put out on bids.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, we talked to Rob the other day, are you guys lumping security and the bailiff all in one assumption and one bid? Because the way that, I guess, taxpayers' perception would be that if the bailiff is wanting to be for Judge Powers and to protect his flock, as he stated, that should come out of the 8th District Court budget, and he's been trying to get a bailiff since probably back in 2002. But he doesn't want that to come out of his budget. So if he's wanting a bailiff 100% of the time, at court time, then that should be, and I'm not saying that it couldn't be through First Security, and it could be, but that would have to be a separate scenario. To protect the courthouse 100%, that should be, and to do metal detectors, I fully understand that would come out of the taxpayers.
Those are big numbers.
Yeah,
to
they
protect
are.
the whole courthouse. Those are
Correct.
huge. And we have a transfer station we can't afford, so I understand,
Right.
so.
Well, and I was gonna say, have you guys thought of other situations, like the third, upstairs on the third floor, how they did the walls, and like Robin, we were talking the other day, and he said sometimes people don't like to talk to people through a wall, through a glass wall, but if it's gonna protect the people on the other side,
Banks
I don't know,
have it
there's
that
just,
way.
yeah.
You have banks, their fire, aren't they weapon, gun-proof usually at banks and stuff, those windows and stuff as a rule?
Yes, that's a rule, they have a rule bulletproof.
And probably upstairs, I think we have a couple, don't we?
Yes,
I thought so.
clerk's office.
So those would just be different options, because when we pay 100, like if a violator has a court date, they get charged $130 for court, but maybe $2 to $3 of it stays in this county. So, I mean, there's a huge fee that,
Could be tapped into a little
Yeah.
bit.
to pay for bailiff.
I'm not sure it's already tapped into.
I guarantee you it is. The increase.
And there's several different funding scenarios we're gonna have to look at on
Yeah.
top of that, where those dollars come from.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? Otherwise, I guess we'll be getting back to you.
Get back with me. Yeah.
But you did say you was willing to work if we set something up and, you know, we don't even have a budget for next year. That's,
Yeah, just,
Put it together and we'll see what we can do for you. You know, there might be a situation where we can't, I just
Right.
don't know until we can look at it.
look at it too.
yeah.
Further questions down the road, just don't hesitate to give us a
Thank you,
call.
thank you, sir.
All right,
And
thank you.
is this your card?
Yes, that's my card
That's
in
your
there.
card, okay.
Yep, on the back side, it's got phone numbers.
Yeah, I kind of see.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, is Bud and Randy here? Morning.
Yeah, you're up to the other end now, Randy.
I don't have to fight through everybody to
Right.
over there.
It works, it works.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
I got half-size plan sets. So these are, like me and Bud were sitting out there chatting, there's a couple things that caught my eye right off the bat that are gonna change on these. So, I mean, right away, they're 90%ers. The whole point is, well, my architect has the end of the building drawn in. So
Oh,
right away, I can tell you that's not how this is gonna be.
Oh, I see.
Gonna be built. So there are minor things like that. In conversation, he probably wrote on a pad and then went back and never took back off of his plans that he had started already. So otherwise, general intents here. I know one other thing that's missing is the interior water spigot, which me and Bud were gonna sit down and talk about exact location we felt it should be. I think that's probably, I need to sit down with the architect and the MEP and figure out which one thinks they're gonna raise their hand to put it on the plan sheet. It's not really a civil positioning, and I'm sure them two figured the other one would do it, and I haven't got the group back together with this all put together. I wanted you guys to have a chance, and then again, these are minor things to add. I don't know. I guess for the most part, I hope you guys would take time, look through it, and come up with a list of questions for me that we can address. Kind of the whole point of 90% plans as far as we're concerned.
This here is phase 2.
Yes, so we're calling this phase 2,
And
phase
3.
3.
And 3.
The reason phase 2, phase 3 is because the contractor needs to be well aware that they are going to be expected to tear down part of a building, put up part of a building, and then repeat that process again. Tear down what's left of the building and put up the rest of our building. And so in order to call that out properly, that's why we wound up moving to, instead of phase 1 is what's out there constructed currently, and then at the beginning of this was calling it 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Well, we wound up adding phase 3, just it made plans easier to interpret, everybody to understand that we can't tear everything down out there and put up all new all in one shot. So we're going to be stuck in the middle there, still operating, transitioning from the current facility to half of what your new facility will be.
We're gonna still have one total cost, or we're gonna have cost for each phase?
No, one total cost. Cost is, one contractor is doing all the work. There is no real break in construction between phase 2 and phase 3, other than we have to get done with the building has to be done, and there are changes where. So for phase 2, the new facility will operate the same way the current facility does, where you drive through. When we're done with that, those openings will be closed in, and you'll be backing in from the west side. So that's kind of where we needed to call this out in 2 different phases, because the building structure changes in the middle of that.
And the gray area here stops, I'm on C4, I guess, just 3 pages in or 4. With the old scales staying exactly where they're at.
Yep. Yeah, we're not touching the scales whatsoever. Yeah, the one plan sheet I know you're missing, I've been having trouble with, the city was already using, I don't have it, I'm gonna say it's ESC, but it may, electrical engineering firm, and we reached out to them to help us with giving us a plan sheet for going underground with the one sectional line, and I finally have a proposal for the work, and I asked for that a month ago or something, and so I'm having trouble. I'm hoping that once I turn they've done a lot of background to make sure what it's going to take for the proposal. I'm hoping once I turn them loose, they're going to be able to dump something rather quickly. It's kind of been discouraging how long.
So how many things are you waiting on before we get a cost estimate?
Well, and we chatted about that. I would tell you the last cost estimate would still stand, and I unfortunately didn't think to bring that with me. We haven't made that many plan changes that would change the engineer's proposed cost estimate since the last time.
Well, you know, you're just talking about, you know, running it underground, and I mean, is that already figured into it?
Yeah, I would tell you that the cost of putting that underground will be more than saved in the demolition costs, because I had a demolition expert come out and look at the site with me, and he was very concerned about the overhead high-powered lines. Well, for the current, the way we're proposing to do the new building, the lines can't stay there, they'll be in the way, so it's kind of a win-win. We kind of regain that by, when they go to do demo, not having to bring in a gigantic crane to reach over top of the high-powered lines. So it doesn't change my cost estimate whatsoever, because we win. The cost of putting it in is erased on the demolition side.
So still under 25,000 though is what we just sort of looked at for the electric, I think. That will.
Yeah, and I couldn't get his,
That's
he
all.
sent me the proposal Friday for the design portion of it, and then it wouldn't open this morning, and I have an email that says he sent it to me again, but I haven't had a chance to open it and look at it. But yeah, that's kind of what we were assuming.
And I think no matter whatever happens, I think we're probably interested in getting it out of our way no matter what, getting that part done.
Yeah. Yep, and again, at this point, I had a prior commitment for the last round of cost estimate stuff that come through, but at this point, I think our best bet is to bid it and see where. I mean, I can look at past construction fees and come up with what my estimate is, but really the best way to figure out what the going market for this work is to bid it and see what the numbers come in at.
And you're ready for that? You're ready to do that?
I'd tell you, I gotta get that underground electric sheet, and then whatever changes we're gonna make to these done. So we're very close to being ready to send this out to bid.
But I think that so let's say it's 25,000. I don't know where it's going to be, but let's say it's 25,000. That will be on top of this project, though.
Yeah.
That's not.
I guess my plan was to throw it in with
this.
With this, the plan sheet was going to go in with this set and one contractor. That way, you've got one contractor who's coordinating all of it and doing all of it. Who, no matter what, it's not a general contractor who gets this bid is going to bring in several subs. And the electrical guy who does this underground work is just going to have to be one of their subs that they pull in.
Okay.
otherwise, if we bid it out separately, then somebody's gotta try to do construction management, coordinate with that person, and that's why we're having a general contractor bid this and build it for you, so, to avoid having to deal with subcontractors, so.
And if we find out we haven't got, well, we found out already the sales tax, it may not be the proper, may not be the way we'd like it to be. We haven't really went back and studied that, but they've told us it's gotta be a combination of three things if we went sales tax. And that's not what we expected. We figured just a sales tax strictly for this is what we was looking at, so.
Gotcha.
That's changing our plans. There were some things we can hold the project a little while and see if when they reconvene, whether they would give us a, I don't know what words you'd want to call it even, whether instead of using or, they used and in the literature, whether they would just let us do a single project on building or not. Because that's the way it was all talked about the day we was there.
Ultimately, I would tell you, we're gonna plow forward with finishing 100% documents, which would include construction specifications and the contractual documentation. And at that point, we'll submit that to you and say, we're ready to set an advertised date. And that's at the point when we would have to look through and see, how do we want the contractual wording? If we wanna give you guys options to delay construction and some of that kind of stuff in that wording, all can be done. I bid a project earlier this year, we gave them 1.5 years to get the work done. What needed to be done, but wasn't something that had to be done immediately, and that was the best way to get contractors interested in the project, was to give them a long scope or time frame to get the work done, so we could look at different options contractually for you guys to see what we wanna do.
Well, I mean, we already know that it's off the table for the November election. So, you have to determine if you can get a change and then have a special election or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be the only way to do it.
Is it,
Primarily metal building.
excuse me?
Primarily metal building.
Yeah, clear span, metal building.
What are the tariffs doing to you?
Do what?
Tariffs. Tariffs starting to mess with metal building prices.
I mean, again, that comes to some of me stating engineer's cost estimate. You never know until you actually bid it, because yeah, things like steel, you're
Conduit's doubled in price.
yeah, a lot. That comes back to our conversation of what's happened to the cost estimates. We started with you guys 2 years ago on this project. I would tell you, cost of construction across the board has gone up tremendously since then.
15% per year.
Yep. 25% is what I've been saying, but yeah, that 15 a year is probably pretty accurate. I mean, it's across the board, which is.
Of course, we don't know what these tariffs are gonna do, depending on whether the government can get anything negotiated or not.
I'll tell you
I mean,
what.
we might be in worse shape 6 months from now, we might be in a whole lot better shape. That's a wild card.
What they've been doing, everything I've done metal building wise, what's happened is that your bidding contractors will want you guys to hard state a start time, because their bids will only be good for like 30 days, and then that'll probably be the first thing that shows up, and they'll stack it on the ground with cribbing and wrap it with plastic, and or they'll store it someplace else. But those are because the costs are fluctuating. Then the metal building manufacturers will hold their bids for very long. Is one of the issues we've been seeing from the tender side of things. So.
Copper was the same thing a few years back. It was so volatile in a week. Basically, it was on the price they would hold it for.
Well, I sure don't want this building sitting out down in Peabody. The city ordered a building and ordered it in, then it's set for 6 months to a year before it finally got up, and the steel started rusting because it wasn't taken care of.
Because it wasn't stored properly. Yeah, I had another project where I got lucky and it was stored inside, but it was almost a year before we needed the building from when they purchased it, but that was because that was the only way they could get the bid guarantee, and they had locked in a really good price, so they just said, well, let's get it here and we'll store it. Which I don't, depends who your contractor is, you know, you just have to, we'd have to keep our eyes on them and make sure that if they did that, that then they took care of it once it was here.
Okay. Any other questions, or Randy, or Bud?
I just guess we're gonna have to sit down and look at each and everything, go through it, and see exactly what we've got final product here.
Yeah, that's what I would appreciate. You go through and point out anything. I mean, I've got a full-size set. Me and Bud are about ready to go through when we leave here, just to chat about a few things, how they came out on plan, to make sure that we agree with position and stuff. But they've got markups on things I've already seen. I would love for you guys to do the same, go through them.
But these aren't major revisions from what we've looked at in the past.
Nope. Nope, I would tell you that since our conversations, I'd have to look back, but probably early July, we haven't made any major revisions. And, you know, one of the things that come up from our meeting last time was, somebody brought up, you're gonna have an open pit and we don't have a door on the end of this building at all. So you can't just leave that open, general public, some kids out there playing. It's got to be fenced in. So we kind of gone back and forth with, were we going to fence the entire property, were we not? Well, we wound up coming in and putting a fence in, closing off the fence you guys currently have to the corner of the building just for a safety factor. That's one thing I'd love for you guys to review and make sure that you don't have a different idea. We kind of went shortest route, what made the most sense to us. But those are things that we've had conversations about, but we ultimately have now put on paper that I want other people's eyes on to take a look at and go, that's what we had in mind, that's not. So, does anybody else want a set of plans? I was figuring at least one other person in the group would want.
So it's part of your job description then to also look at securing the area during construction, not just, so I mean, we would want to certainly go on your recommendation of how to secure the property while it's being
constructed. You know, that's a lot of contractors will put up temporary fencing. On a site like yours, it's going to be incredibly complicated to be super secure just because of the mobility of, you've got trash trucks and stuff coming and going. We got to keep the one half open and then the other half do construction on.
Well, I'm talking probably more like after hours, weekends.
Yeah, and that's,
we don't have to operate.
The contractor's going to have to take that into account of how secure do they want. If there's any kind of a pit, they've got any dugout open area, they have to follow OSHA standards. If there's, you know, their construction equipment and tools, it kind of be up to them to lock up and put away. Most of them, that's why you're seeing cargo containers and stuff on job sites. It's the safest, easiest way to secure.
They provide their own insurance, contractors provide their own insurance for theft and vandalism and all that while it's on our property.
Yep, absolutely.
So a lot of things to think about.
No, absolutely, and I guess I'm not going to profess to be a legal person. I don't know what the liability on your guys' side still is. I'd have to check and see what our legal team says on what the city's.
I guess we would have to get some direction from our insurance company, you know, what is covered under a construction such as this.
Because to me, the contractor's tools get walked off on, he should have liability insurance for all that. But if they've dug a hole and somebody drives off into it,
Randy, I need to have if you have an extra copy, I need it for the project file.
Yes, yeah, you
Okay, thanks.
I'll leave that, I've got a full-size set outside, keeping stuff.
Jeff,
Well, while they're here, I just have a question for Bud. With all these delays, I understood that the transfer station is in danger of, at some point, possibly going, falling apart, and I don't know how, what, I'm not saying the commission isn't aware of that, I'm just, we have reserve funds, I don't know why we're waiting. I don't know why we would wait.
And the same way with what he had just mentioned with the cost going up, it
Plus,
just seems
I
as though
don't
you
know,
wanna.
Bud, is it any less dangerous now?
Just from what we see, it's rebar's coming up out of concrete all the time. I would have to probably tell you, a structural engineer would probably have to come down and inspect it again and tell us for sure.
when was the last time that guy was?
When we started with Call Valley here, I believe, or right before that. I think he was
Probably here a year and a half ago,
something like
the
that.
last time.
And at that time, he said what? It was unsafe, right?
The last time I was told 2 years.
So,
But at one point, what point would they shut it down? When a big hole falls in the middle of it, or what?
Well, or, yeah, when something catastrophic happens. No, I'm sure they can recommend it's unsafe, if you call somebody in to inspect it and
I'm sure we could have our structural engineer come down and evaluate it. Yeah.
but we already know that. We already know that it's
Yeah.
unsafe. So I mean, why do you want to spin our wheels and do it again?
I mean, we're doing everything we possibly can to prolong it. The guys are being extra careful now with everything. It's making a difference not having that crane packing anymore, swinging and hitting the floor. I mean, they were careful with that, but when you've got 5 tons swinging, you can't stop it,
Yeah.
So it's just.
And how much of the problem was actually caused by that?
Right.
We don't know.
Right. The edge breaking off could have been 95% of that. I don't know, I just know that it's broken off a lot more since I've been down there. And we are doing everything in our power to make it last. Because if you go someplace else, there's a lot of hoops you're gonna have to jump through to go to it. There's a lot of things that KDHE requires to, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see it get bid out as soon as possible, so we at least have that in front of us. We can't do anything until we have bid. So we need to expedite that as rapidly as possible.
Maybe a budgetary bid.
Well, that comes back to the question of, we'll have to take a look at what the contracts say as far as if we bid it legitly, as in we're gonna start construction in 30 days, you'll get, it comes back to steel prices and some of that, you'll get way more accurate bids than if we tell them, well, we're bidding this, but we're undetermined what a start date's gonna be. So we'll have to dive into that and see what I guess you guys should be thinking about that. If we bid it, let's say we bid it October 1st with a start date of November 1, is that gonna be acceptable, or are we gonna have to find other alternatives? So, kinda at this point, I would tell you, I wish I knew how long that electrical company was gonna take. I would tell you 2 weeks, I think we could have our contract documents all completely done, these plans.
I don't even see how it's possible to get a bid October 1st and say you're gonna start on November 1st.
That is possible.
Yeah, that's what they,
Yeah, that's possible.
and most of these.
We've got to determine the financing.
Well, that's what that's what we're saying is
If we don't use reserves.
If we don't use reserves.
I still say we need to borrow from ourselves. And I've talked to a lot of people about that, and that just seems to be the overwhelming consensus to be the smartest thing to do. So let's stick by it.
We'll take care of the best we can.
Yeah,
Until,
And that's, we're gonna try to get this ready to bid. Obviously, the final documents will be presented to you guys, and you guys have gotta tell us, go forward with advertisement bidding. We usually advertise 30 days, so that's kinda where I'm thinking. If we have stuff done by the end of September, which the end's coming quickly. 2 weeks to get things finalized, you guys give us a go, and then we advertise for 30 days and then bids. So, and then usually contractors will start immediately after, or we usually give them the window to start immediately after setting a final construction date of completion, so it's up to them.
So is 2 weeks pressing? I mean, if you went like you did 30 days, a little more to deal with that electrical company and stuff like that?
I have no clue how long their
That's
turnaround's
so-
gonna be. The rest of the stuff is what I'm assuming 2 weeks out, I'll be totally done. That's giving you guys a week to look at this and then us incorporating those final changes, getting the construction documents all drawn up, which they're pretty well done from the last round, so not a lot of changes to be done. It all takes time. So we're gonna push to get them done as quickly as possible to get them in front of you guys.
So are you open to being here in a couple of weeks and we
That's what I'm
look
hoping.
this over, and if you got an issue with any of the plans, we can deal with it at that time?
Well, I guess I was hoping by next week that you guys
So
could
next
have,
week, well, up to
have
commission.
any markups done, even if it's,
Oh, this?
yeah.
I mean, we've talked about plans now for, seems like forever.
We have talked about it.
You know,
Absolutely.
I think it, in the end, to me, it comes down to about 3 different things. This thing gonna last for 50 years? Is it user-friendly? And conceivably, will it pay for itself?
Or is it just? an
So,
outright
sorry to
yes?
put somebody under the bus here.
I've looked the plans over, we got them, Randy sent them to me last Wednesday, and we sent them out to you guys.
Yeah, I've seen them. Right?
And I've looked over what the meeting that Randy and I had down there that day. It's pretty much what we talked about.
We've tried to
I mean,
go.
there's a few little things like I told Randy here.
Yeah, there's always gonna be things
That's
coming up.
drawn up that I'm not liking, that he says is just minor, and he's probably knows the same things that I have, but.
The hidden wall takes
Yeah.
a good person, a good drafter, 5 minutes to take out. There's bollards in a place where I would tell you they're temporary. There's no point in having bollards. There's another location where I think we're gonna want bollards at the end that they didn't get. So these are little markups. That's the whole point of 90% plans. But the big part is you guys look through, make sure something doesn't jump out at you that you go, oh, I guess now it's on paper. I didn't realize it was gonna look this way.
Anything else, Brenda, or Bud?
No, not right now. I see. That has 50 foot on one over here, but that's something else.
I think in that doorway,
Yeah.
if you look, the door's clearly marked 18 by 14, but I have no idea what that measurement,
Yeah.
I assume that measurement's outside to outside.
I'm hoping, yeah.
And but I know exactly where you're talking,
Okay.
because that caught my eye earlier.
Okay.
I did too, and that was one thing I was gonna bring up to you.
Okay.
It implies that
Same way
door's
with-
50 foot wide.
Yeah, that's what it implies, yeah.
On
It
that
is
one
not
sheet
50
there,
foot wide.
that same sheet, you'll notice on the south, the angle doesn't come over all the way
Yeah.
to the wall, and it will come over all the way to the wall, so when we're pushing trash, we can go right into the pit.
You only want one way to get back there.
And that's
Right.
gonna be on the north side, and it's gonna be concreted off the walkway.
Okay, so those are little
Yes.
things that get,
Yes.
we have meetings, we talk about it, but then when they time to get drawn up on, there's yet another person drawing them other than me, and
The only other thing that I can see is right off the get-go is this railroad right-of-way. I mean, do we want to intrude upon that for roadway or anything? Just, that's, comes across at an angle there where, on the southwest corner. And it's nothing but a mosquito pit, stands full of water, and they're doing other parts of Marion's building over it, I don't know.
In order to make this user-friendly, we show
Some of it, yeah.
some covering up a little bit of it. It just, in order for big trucks to make a convenient, easy swoop out and around it, it was required.
Okay.
So,
you talking about like an easement then from the railroad?
Well, you ain't gonna get that, and those people ain't gonna do nothing.
Actually, it's not the railroad, it's the
Rails and
rail by
trails.
trails.
Yeah.
That's who owns that.
Yeah.
But there have been people that went to the city about that and got an easement from the city to fence it off.
I don't see no reason why we couldn't intrude upon it, so.
And I have spoken with the city about the drainage down there, problem that we have. And apart from them going in and just redoing all the culverts and everything, the best thing they told me to do was just fill it in. Fill it in, and force it over on somebody else. I said, yep, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. But still,
Just looking at it,
I mean, the big water hole we have out front.
Yeah.
The big water hole we have out front, we either put a culvert
you
in
install
across
pumps,
that road or.
pump it onto the neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
so when you set some stakes, we'll have to cross that then.
Okay.
all right?
Anything else? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the final thing on the agenda, so we'll.
We have a couple of things
Oh, yeah.
from earlier.
Earlier, the minutes.
Yeah, we have the minutes of August 30th, because Kit wasn't here, Katie minutes.
I make a motion to approve those. I end up having
Second.
problems.
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All abstain?
Thank you.
Anything else, Dean?
There was just one thing, and that was, county councilor is still going to work to try to get a meeting set with Diamond Vista, and then also Expedition, because the meeting that you had intended to have did not happen. So he thinks that Wednesdays and Fridays seem to work best for all parties. So just kind of wanted to check your availability of the next couple of weeks, if he would be able to get a special meeting arranged for Wednesday or Friday. I don't believe this week he'll be available on Wednesday, but he could do it, so we could either do it on the 13th, which is a Friday, or on a regular Monday meeting, or Wednesday the 18th, or potentially the 20th. It's my understanding that Diamond Vista is gonna bring some of their higher level people in, and they need to have a few days' notice to get a flight to come here, so.
Good.
Any preference?
Just set it up.
That's my thought.
So any of those dates that he would not be,
On the 18th, I have my juvenile, and that's up in Mankato, so I would say that'd be out for me.
I have a SCED meeting, I think, on the, 26th?
yeah, that's on Thursday.
But other than that, my Fridays are okay. And
Okay, all right, that's what I want to know.
Okay. All right, we're open, citizen concerns, public comment, Patty?
May I ask what our reserve is at this point?
A reserve?
Our reserve fund? I thought I heard 1 million, or 11 million, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah, that exact figure.
Well, I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
We don't really track it. We don't have a reserve fund. I mean, we have we've got lots of funds within the county. The only large fund that's set aside for projects is the capital improvement fund,
Okay.
and that's for roads. And so the commissioners would have to take some sort of action if they want to utilize that for something other than what it was intended for.
Some of it's designated, but you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Well, may I ask, how much was set aside in the capital improvement fund for the transfer station?
Nothing, because the capital improvement
I
fund
thought
is
there
for
was
roads.
800,000 or something at one point.
Now, we've been building money in the transfer station fund, but we've utilized a good portion of that,
Yeah,
and
already
so
used.
there's not.
300 and some for this first
Right.
part.
With the building,
Yeah.
I thought there was some money you could borrow from if the case,
I think that what one of the commissioners, Commissioner Novak was talking about borrowing from is the capital improvement fund, which is the road fund.
and how much is in that?
I'd have to look, I don't have that.
So
in
I
front of
would
me
like
right
to
now.
ask though, on that, I keep hearing road fund, it's only actually 2 mils of that money that is designated to use for roads, if I'm not mistaken. The research
It
that I
was-
found out, it was just 2 mils of it, it's not the
It-
whole thing.
It was all designated for roads. However, there's no resolution, according to Scott, there was no resolution for the other mills that are being moved, but there is a resolution for
For
the
the
2
two,
mills.
that's right, so that's.
But it was all designated that way, that's the way it was budgeted, so,
I understand
but it
that.
is general fund, transferred money in, kind of how he explained it, so.
And I do understand that, but
Mhm.
Brad has oftentimes said that if it's not in the resolution, it does not exist. And it goes by the way the resolution is written.
Right,
So
well, what I'm saying is,
For the
the
two.
money that is not, doesn't have a resolution attached to it, as we all discussed in the budget meetings and so forth, you could potentially move that back to the general fund and utilize it from there if you need to for something. But it has been, that money was specifically budgeted for capital improvement, which is roads.
Yeah, it's a diversion of funds, just like
Right.
the state did with KDOT a couple of years ago, diverting all those funds to other uses.
Well, the reason I was asking that is because if, say for instance, something should happen and the transfer station becomes unsuitable to be used, the cost involved would be probably to go to another place would be astronomical. I mean, I would think.
Or put up a
And where would
temporary-
you get the money to haul the trash somewhere else?
But, Mr. Becker, to your point right there, we did discuss that already about putting up temporary buildings. We spent months on that, and Mr. Drews brought to us all kinds of proposals about temporary, I went back and dug a lot of that stuff out. And it's $1 million to put up a temporary building to meet KDHE specs.
How much do we owe for, how much would we need for the transfer
Well,
station at
based
this
on,
point?
my calculations are the 800,000-900,000 that we had, probably about another 1.23 million.
Okay.
Depending what the end cost is, give or take, whatever they come up with.
So another 1.2 million.
Yeah, because I think, what they say, about 2 million or a little right around 2 million or so.
Well, I think that was
where we're at.
increasing, I think we were up 2.5 almost, wasn't it, 2.25, wasn't it?
This last deal, I thought it was 2 point something.
2 point.
Less than half. I mean,
Yeah, it wasn't half. I
2.1 or
think.
something. I don't know. It wasn't even that. I don't remember. I thought it was 2.05 or something.
Something like that, yeah, it's not much over,
2 million.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I just was
But,
curious.
Whatever,
And what it would be if something should happen to it.
yeah.
Then we'd have to come up with the money. And fast.
Yeah. And I understand, I was doing some work on that too myself, and I had some of the questions I had, but I'll just wait, but I come up with a little bit more, but I'm gonna do some more work on
Well,
Thank you.
I will tell you, Patty, I won't vote for doing that. I'll be right up front. This is the first year out of 15 years or so that I've sat here that we haven't put money back for roads. And that's a sad day in my feelings, because these commissioners come in, they wanted 330th done up there. We had the money. We had it saved up, we went and spent it, we done the road. If you take the reserve, any of it out of the road and bridge, which we're doing, this is the first year we're taking that 7 mills and putting it in the capital fund, where are we gonna build a road from when people want roads built? You tell me,
I
and
just
then
know
I'll
how
be
much
happy.
is in it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't know what all the other backside of this is. And so keep your eyes open on the kind of things we face here. And
that. And that's kind of sad that the public doesn't know that.
Well,
That's kind of really sad that the public is not aware of that.
See, I don't
That's
know
not so
that.
It should be by far more transparent.
We do provide that every month in your packets. I don't know the exact dollar right at this moment, but
Okay.
I can get it.
yeah.
Thank you.
But, and you heard Scott Lloyd go through it at budget time, if you sat here and listened to him. I mean,
Good.
But he's not, I mean, when you listen to Scott Lloyd, you have to really be a little bit more keen into bookkeeping and the way he does things. And
You have to
governmental
listen to him
budgeting
and
is
follow,
a whole new animal.
Yeah.
And we've been jumping around from one subject to another. So, in defense of the public, that was, I mean, I understand we sat through that and I got that, and we had a lot of information that we were privy to, but the average person cannot follow that as readily or as easily as most.
But I can just see, road projects aren't getting any cheaper than steel projects. I mean, it's.
Cost of any kind of construction is just.
And here, we've added the ambulance department, we've added what you was talking about, the 15 employees, we've added that, and we haven't done too much as far as going up on mills. We've been trying to cut back on mills.
Right.
And so, you can't keep doing more for less.
Oh,
It's just simple. So, I just caution anybody to take a look at how we're gonna put money back for these kind of projects, and when you want a road project.
And the transfer station was delayed because of the oil or whatever was found and contamination, right?
Yeah, that was delayed.
We had
Yeah.
delays just getting that building put up.
But I think Kent, I'm gonna revisit the funding situation, because if we got the bid coming in, the funding situation's gonna have to be relooked at. And, you know, I'm disappointed in sales tax. I'm very disappointed in that, because I've seen it work so good for Marion County. And I'm gonna have to change my ways. That's just, if it don't work, why it don't work. I mean, you know, it just didn't work on this time. So we're gonna have to do something probably a little different to get this thing funded and get it going. That's my, thank you.
The bonding right now is phenomenal. I mean, as far as your interest rates and bonding, it is the prime opportunity if you're going to borrow money right now. And that's not saying that the direction you should take, I'm just saying.
Right.
It's something you should know.
Cheapest ever gonna be.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's phenomenal.
Right.
What, swap bonds?
Yeah,
So
Okay.
that's,
I mean, it's dropped to
It's good, right?
almost nothing.
Wow.
I would have to vote for that before I vote for taking any more reserves.
It's gone down to percent. They're 3 to 1.
That might get us back to a lease purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Almost free.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a chance to get good.
Number 2 for me.
How is it?
Okay, any other comments?
No.
2
You want to
questions.
get 1%.
The first one
money.
about why sales tax doesn't work this time. I don't think I've ever quite understood, even reading in the paper about it. It worked for the jail, and that was one project. And now they're saying that one project can't be funded through sales tax.
I will let Tina address it better than I can. But
To be able to utilize sales tax, you have to get special legislation. The Kansas legislature has to approve, has to write a law that allows the county to go out and submit to the voters the question of the sales tax. We did get a law written a year ago. However, as we're going through and looking at things now, our bond council is looking at it, and the way that the special law was worded, it would have given us, which was the intent, to be able to use that for, see, our previous law only gave us authority for a law enforcement center. So when we expanded that, we asked for special legislation to be able to use that for tax relief, for economic development, and for infrastructure, which would include buildings like the transfer station. And I believe that was modeled after another county that had done something similar. However, the way that it was written, it said and, not or. So for us to actually be able to submit that to the voters for approval, we would have to develop a project, we'd have to encompass all 3 of those. And so somehow we would potentially have to set up a fund for specifically for tax relief and for economic development in addition to the transfer station project. So it's not
Ands and ors.
And so it's not necessary. And the other part of that was for the transfer station itself, it would not have required a whole half-cent sales tax. It would have required less to fund that. But the way the legislation was written, it does not say up to, it says a half cent. So not only would we have to do all 3 projects, we would also have to ask for the entire half cent from the voters, which we still could do. We're getting to the point now where we're beyond when we could put that on the ballot for the
Special
November election. It would have to be special. So basically, the options that the commission have would be to request corrective legislation to add and/or and to put up to 1/2 cent, which in my opinion, I think you should ask for that corrective legislation anyway for future, if you ever want to utilize sales tax like that.
Yeah.
It would just be good to have that done, but that takes time, and so we wouldn't have that until probably next year. I mean, we wouldn't be able to hold that election till late next year to be able to actually go to our voters to.
But there's one coming up in November. I mean, that's another general election in November of next year, 2020, so.
Right, but it delays even getting the funding mechanism for a whole another year, which is not necessarily feasible
Right.
because we need to move forward. So the other option is to just go to a different funding mechanism. So getting a bond, if you don't use sales tax to pay the payments, which has been the least impactful for the taxpayers here and has been successful for, another project that we've done, you actually have to put a bond issue before the voters, and that would be funded by an increase in property tax.
Yeah.
And then we also have to consider the tax lid and other things. And it's, so then the other option is the lease purchase, which we could do that by lease purchase, but it would be a little bit more, a higher interest rate probably than what you would get with a bond. But
We
that
did a
does
lease
not
purchase on
require.
our trash truck and.
Yeah, but this is
different.
large,
Yeah.
a large amount, so it would
Well,
be.
it's all relative.
Right.
You guys have more money, so looking for more money is a little easier.
But that wouldn't be subject to an election.
Yes.
You have less potential,
When
less
you said
potential
earlier,
bidders.
when you said earlier about the budget and understanding what the funds are, where they come from, what they can be used for, that is truly the thing that the public doesn't understand. They see that you have $600,000 here and think, well, why can't you use that? Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. My other question was, in the paper there was the article that talked about the poor farm, and was it an article or an editorial? I don't remember. But it talked about the poor farm and how previously there was a county attorney or a county employee that would go in and mow that periodically, but he has since retired. Is there anything in the county, I don't know what you'd call it, but can you mow for people? I mean, that's privately owned property, but it's a historical spot.
You'd have to assess it against the taxes, I guess.
Yeah,
I think what you're talking about is the cemetery up.
yeah, the cemetery
Okay.
at the poor farm.
Yeah, that's on county property.
Is that county part?
Yeah.
It's not part of
That
the
is on
privately
county
owned?
property, the cemetery.
Yeah, it's right on the corner. County owns about 10 acres out
Yeah.
there. And the cemetery's right there in the corner. And then there's farm ground and then the poor farm.
Okay,
And the poor farm is.
so the
individually
cemetery
owned.
property though is county owned?
No, but no.
The cemetery property is county
Well,
owned?
unless there was a deed that cut it out.
I don't know if we own it or not, you'd have to check the deeds, right?
But according to plot, why
It's right in our plot,
county
yeah.
Well, if
property.
the county owned it, we should mow it.
Yeah, and not only that, but it is of historic interest, and anything that you can advertise as some place for people to go and see a piece of history should be maintained.
Well, the worst thing is the gate to get into the cemetery is too narrow to get in there. Any kind of mower anybody's got.
Really?
You'd have to go in there with a little push mower.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It's
Well, that would.
probably too tall to do that.
Yeah.
I haven't been by it, is it pretty tall?
I don't know, I haven't been by, I
It's
just
got to
read
be
the
after this
article.
year.
I
I
know
mean, the way
that.
things
Go out
are.
there on,
Yeah.
out west, go to Old Mill Road.
Mhm.
and then-
Can we check with the
Okay.
register of deeds and
Okay.
see how, if we would have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
been
I'm
questioned about
familiar
it.
with
I don't
Old
know.
Mill.
We can ask her to do it.
I'm
Yeah, I
familiar
think we
with
need
Old
to
Mill.
check with the
I
register
have
and see
cousins
if that is
live right
actually
up
on
there.
county property. Why do we own 10 acres out there?
That was the old
Yeah.
mixing strip.
It could have a separate deed,
Could have, yeah.
Yeah, it probably did.
It was an old mixing strip.
but it,
It's like
What is
one
it, just now trees?
40th or 150th.
Had used to-
150th.
it looks like the people buried there come from
It's right in
Fort
that area.
Because
I have a
there's,
cousin
well,
that lives out
there's
there.
no name, date, stuff like that.
On some of them, yeah.
One little plot there,
South
one
further
Negro
down
boy.
the
Yeah, that's the one I've.
Oh, okay.
In,
And isn't it on the east side of Old Mill?
no, west.
West
Why-
side? Okay.
Why
When you're
don't we
going
try
down
to
there,
get rid
you'll
of that
see a whole
property
bunch
if it's of
tree
no value
growth,
to the
and
county?
then right on the corner, right on the
It was
southeast
full
corner
of-
of that plot, the little cemetery there.
It's been cleaned
Strip
up
farm
quite a
ground,
bit.
and then full of.
There was
Okay.
quite a bit of cement buildings and things like
But
that.
it needs
on
more,
I
I
don't
think.
think there's any structure.
she's a
Yeah.
neighbor of mine.
Did have
Yeah.
rid of it.
She came here
And
not
she,
that long
she
ago
won't let
talking about
anybody
something.
on the property. She don't trespass and all that.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Can we,
I'm a poor.
I just
talk
made
to
a
the,
note.
to the register?
Anyway, I saw the article and I thought I would ask
Yeah.
if there's a policy or
Well,
if you guys know anything about.
I don't know about that, but nobody's
Yes.
on it. I mean, I've never, didn't know.
I guess it's worthy to check with the register of deeds and just to see where that, those
Yeah.
property lines lie.
Yeah.
5.4, okay.
Because I didn't know we had 10 acres out
Thank you.
there.
Yeah.
Better sell it. Quick a lot.
Okay, any other, anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Carl?
How come these blades are still cutting the weeds off and filling the ditches up? You know, instead of waiting on mowers, out there on what, 150th Road, east of 77, there was about a mile there, they cut weeds like this and put them all over on one side of the ditch.
I
You know,
saw
that
a blade
stuff,
on that road today.
no ditch there, the water's going down the middle of the road. And that's going on all over the county, everybody knows it.
That's a question of
There's-
price.
There's two mowers sitting out there at the lake that been sitting there for I don't know how long. I've never seen them move. There's a Ford tractor with a bat wing, and the other tractor.
They use that
was-
on ditches.
Huh?
They use that on ditches all the time.
You know, they're sitting for days and days.
Seems to me it all falls on the operator, how they're trained, how much experience they
Well, they
have.
just know equipment to go
Yeah.
around the mowers. But it's terrible. There's
Well, we've got hundreds of miles of ditch that need to be mowed because they're all 8 foot high at this point.
But it's better to leave the weed grow than put them in the ditch. You know, plug it. I see out there on that road, there's piles that high in the ditch.
Yeah. It makes a mess.
Good question of our engineer. Well,
It's getting to where up on Roxbury Road you cannot see around the corners because the weeds are so high. When you come up, you can't see, and then there's, you
it's that
know,
way everywhere.
it's getting really bad. And, you know, and they drive, you know, 55, and it's kind of, it's pretty dangerous sometimes.
Well, they're that way all over. You just have to pull up there and stop usually.
Right. And
And look.
also, I called it in last week because right there, it's just barely east of 330th and Diamond. There's a big culvert. And I don't know if you're aware of it. You might have seen it. But on the south side of the road, it's already taken some of the blacktop with it because there's nothing there on that culvert. There's nothing there, and it's already eroding the road. And then it's almost there on the other side.
Is that the same spot where it was washing out? I had
Bad.
Well, I had brought that to the attention this
Yes.
morning of Bryce. And I think he said they put screenings in there.
There's nothing there. Not at 330th and Diamond. They haven't done
Yeah,
anything.
that's what I was referring, that's the pictures that I submitted here a couple of weeks ago and showed the washout and
No,
everything
there's nothing.
underneath the blacktop.
They haven't. That's a different place. The one I'm talking about is a big culvert that runs north and south, and it's right almost on the corner. It's just,
It goes under 330th?
but it's already taken some of the blacktop. It's taken us that little section of blacktop already on the white line,
You said it was where? Diamond and what, 330?
330th, yeah, it's just east of there,
Okay.
barely east of there. And it,
I thought I had
it's
that.
really, it's gonna take, if we get another big rain sometime, and anything like we did,
Got a lot of
the
problems,
road's gonna be
doesn't it?
gone, I mean, a big part of it's gonna be gone, so.
Anyone else?
Okay, that's it. Make a motion, we adjourn. All those in favor?
All right.